You're probably thinking it's time to buy a new car, truck, SUV. There's all sorts of inventory, 0% financing, prices off MSRP, and discounts up the yin-yang. But the reality is, no. Wait, it's not time to buy a new car just yet. Yes, all this extra inventory just means that the supply and demand are out of whack and people are not buying enough vehicles. There's way too much inventory, and while yes, you have lots of selection, that just means that the dealers can't sell vehicles. They're getting desperate. And while yes, you're seeing 0% down, 0% financing, over 36, 48 months, even 5 years, we're seeing 0% interest rates. It's just indication that the dealers are just trying to get rid of unpopular, undesirable vehicles. Do you want to be that buyer that's buying that hunk of junk? Not me. In fact, what we look back in the last 2 or 3 years, people were buying a lot of cars. There was a frenzy buying. With the incentives, the government was doling out cash left, right, and center to get people to go out there and spend and stimulate the market. The fact remains is a lot of those people are now scratching their heads thinking, oh man, what a waste of time. I wasted my money and now I'm upside down because the stimulus packages has ended and now the government wants their money back. I've always been a believer buying a late model used car gets you the best bang for buck. 2019 and before, 3-year-old vehicle with some warranty on it, often you were able to get with 30 or 40,000 miles on it, you could get for half of its original value. Represented phenomenal deal. Then we sort of lost touch with that. People start to scramble. Inventory was dropped. We lost the ability to buy good quality late model vehicles because you couldn't get brand new vehicles. A lot of the OEMs didn't have new stock, so people were then looking for late model quality used vehicles, and even those weren't available. Then people started to scatter and spending more money for those and had to start looking at the second tier, slightly banged up 5 to 7-year-old vehicles, and that was then the place that people start to spend their money on. So now we're starting to see a shift. The tide, we've literally flipped. 2 years ago, you couldn't get a quality vehicle. Even brand new, you had to overpay. These dealers were getting greasy and quite often they were jacking up their prices to the point where people were paying $5, $10, $20, $40,000 over MSRP. Look up example, Corvette C8. Look up Hyundai Palisade. And a whole plethora of other vehicles I'm not even going to get into right now. But the fact remains, even though there may be some opportunity and these brand new car dealers are going to try to keep pushing the products, not until we're after the tax time that we're even going to possibly see some better deals. Right now, like I said, you're seeing some of these 0% down and some discounts, but that's usually on the less desirable vehicles. You want to get something that you actually want to buy and own, you're going to have to wait, or in my opinion, you're better off buying a used vehicle. Again, when I talk about 2019 and older, that late model used vehicle represented the best opportunity. Think about vehicles like Tesla, for example. They have walloped their customers. If you went in and bought a brand new Tesla Model X or S, they literally took you for a ride. I remember when the Model X came out, the X Plaid, for example, I know a person that bought one when they were hot to trot, and he paid $185,000 for that vehicle. Now that's Canadian dollars, but the flip side is now you can get those vehicles for about $130,000 Canadian, and after about 3 or 4 quick price adjustments, now Tesla's realized that their sales have dipped and people aren't buying the new products like they're hoping to. So while you are Joe Blow that went out and bought that brand new Tesla for $170,000 or $180,000, 2 years later, all of a sudden, Tesla's offering all sorts of incentives. You're still getting the government incentives because they're brand new electric vehicles, but in fact now those people buying a brand new Tesla Model X Plaid were able to get it for $20,000, $40,000, $50,000 less than your buddy did 6 months earlier. Who's getting taken for a ride? We're also seeing the Model 3s, for example. Hertz has sold up most of their fleet, and now we're seeing massive deals. You buy a Tesla Model 3, of course, a vehicle that might have 30 or 40,000 miles on it, slightly used. You want to get the same experience, but you don't want to spend that top dollars. Instead, you're able to get yourself a slightly used, maybe 1 or 2 or 3-year-old Tesla Model 3, get the same excitement out of it, enjoy some of the same benefits, and you can get that vehicle for fractions of the dollar. You can getting those vehicles for $15,000 to $20,000, which is literally the price of a clapped out, worn out Toyota Camry. You want more good examples? How about the Audi e-tron? They're getting hammered. Buying one brand new represents one of the biggest financial mistakes anyone could ever make at any point, because those are dropping off the cliff in value, and it's not uncommon to find slightly used ones a year old with 5,000 miles on it that are now priced at 60 or 70% of the original value. Same thing applies for the Mercedes EQS, and any of their electric vehicle lineup are not selling like the Mercedes-Benz have actually suggested or hoped they would. Not only that, Mercedes has also realized some drastic technology updates, or I want to say enhancements or improvements, have literally slaughtered their opportunity to make a buck. The C63S, they thought they were being clever. Oh, let's get ahead of the game. We're going to make a small 4-cylinder engine, put a turbo on it, Of course, now we're going to put some electrification behind it, and it's going to be faster than the outgoing twin-turbo V8. Guess what? Nobody wants that. Everybody who signed up for a C63 in the past wanted that loud, scrambly, obnoxious V8 engine. But Mercedes gave it up thinking we know best. But they don't know best. So now people are buying used C63s. And that's why we're at this point of why you're in a better place to buy a used car and skip the new car altogether, at least this year anyway, because even by the time we roll over past tax time, a lot of these OEMs are still not necessarily in a rush to necessarily throw those deals down. We're going to see this slow increase in opportunities. And while you're hoping that you're going to see interest rates flip and you're going to get some big opportunities, well, I may not make the big win on MSRP or tags or 0% for 3 or 4 years. I'll get it on the back end with interest rates and finance rates that are going to drop off, because word has it, the Reserves and Bank of Canada and everybody's going to drop their interest rates this year. I wouldn't bank on that anytime soon. While that might happen, we might see small margins of improvements in that game too. And I've heard some of the people that are making those decisions, even in Canada, are waiting very cautiously because they don't want to see this knee-jerk make a sudden change and then seeing this big rebound, and all of a sudden we're in a new place with escalating inflation rates. So mark my words, there's all the reasons, not just high interest rates and the fact that buying a new car, you're going to have to pay more interest charges. You're also going to be stepping up to pay the tire tax, levies, all these extra add-ons. You're also going to be the first person to put on an extra set of wheels, paint protection film. You want those extra mats. You're going to be stuck footing the bill for that probably $5,000 to $10,000 worth of extra garbage that buying slightly used doesn't actually see. So when you say, oh, this person paid $150,000 for their new Mercedes-Benz, they're not telling you that they threw on an extra, $18,000 for protection packages and extra add-ons. Whereas buying a used one, maybe a year old, that might be at 60 or 70% of that value, all those parts are included, and most people buying these vehicles nowadays are smart enough to know that they're putting some of the extras on, or at least they want to protect it. When they're buying it new, they're willing to throw down the extra bucks. So there's extra value add. You're getting more of the extras if you're buying slightly used. You might even be getting an extra CPO warranty thrown in there. Other more technical reasons why you probably don't want to buy a new one right now and buy used cars are, as I've said already, talking about the AMG versions of the C63 Mercedes. Other examples are Toyota and Lexus. We're talking about they're unleashing a whole new barrage of engines. They now have these turbo 4s, twin turbo V6s. And the word is that there's a lot more recalls on these latest rehash and redesigned vehicles by both even Toyota and Lexus. And we know they are the kings and queens of reliability, and yet they're seeing tons of recalls. So it's a whole shift. There's that new twin turbo straight six that we're seeing by Dodge, Chrysler, and they're replacing the Hemi. Well, people that like trucks trust the Hemi. They're going to go with the old standard V8, naturally aspirated, and this new turbo 6 might represent more challenges for reliability. So sometimes buying used, you're actually able to get a lot better car. It's been tried and tested, and whereas some of these new ones have not been tested yet. New technology, it feels like it's a new groundbreaking thing that a lot of these OEMs are coming up with. They're trying to pitch you on a new technology, new drivetrains. They're trying to transition into the future, and with that comes challenges of failures, high prevalence of failure rates. Tesla has proven that ground. They've tried to blaze a trail and tried to carve out all kinds of problems, electrical gremlins, technical challenges, undone hardware coming from the factory, paint quality and body fitment panel issues. So buying something that was maybe yesterday's news, 2, 3, 4 years old, might represent an opportunity to get something that's more tried and true. While we did see a shortage in used vehicles, and while we do continue to see vehicles in that price range from that $10,000 to about $20,000 range, that's sort of the sweet spot where people want to buy. That's always going to represent a challenge to get in and get a quality vehicle for a good dollar. But if you have a few more dollars and you're already willing to maybe even consider buying a new one, don't. Go buy that slightly used vehicle, maybe that $20,000 to $40,000 range. You can get yourself a really bang up vehicle. That was yesterday $80,000. You can get some great deals and some quality units with low mileage and has all the add-ons. And also, you know what the track record for durability is. Parts availability as well. It's a lot easier to do your research. Check the forums. There's usually a long laundry list of items that people are sharing. And we also know insurance rates are going to generally be a little bit higher on brand new vehicles. Now, you could say, well, if I have this used Tesla or this used Jaguar and I got to fully load it up with all the glass coverage and collision and everything, it's going to cost me a lot. Yeah, it will, but that's just it. A lot of times when you're leveraged to the hilt buying that new car, insurance companies insist, like, it's not even an option. You have to fully cover that vehicle because even the banks want to make sure that their investment's protected. So they're going to want to ensure that your insurance company is fully covering that vehicle. When your vehicle is 3 or 4 years old and you don't care that much about, you know what, I'll take a hit on a windshield. I don't mind, if I get a little bump on the fender, I'll wear it. I'm not too worried about that. So you might be in a position where you can opt out of certain coverages within your insurance, because we all know there's no secret. Buying an electric vehicle, we're seeing escalating insurance rates. We've all heard about the Ioniq 5, right? 2 cases in Canada, for example, recently. One where a person literally, the battery started faulting out. They took it in for troubleshooting and realized that the battery was toast. They took it to their dealer. The dealer then offered up them an invoice and a bill for the potential repairs, and it exceeded $50,000. That vehicle was written off. Another case where the Ioniq 5 was driving down the road, a piece of debris came off the road, hit and slightly scratched a battery pack at the bottom of the vehicle. ICBC essentially dictated that that vehicle had to be sold and written off and scrapped because the batteries were unstable and a potential fire hazard. So all these costs for increasing battery costs, glass panels that run all the way up like you're seeing in a lot of Tesla products, and a lot of these unique panels that are aluminum and plastic, high cost, low production numbers, are going to cost insurance companies a lot of money. And that's part of the reason why Hertz decided to pitch half their fleet. The cost of maintenance as well as the cost of repairs. When they get in little small fender benders, it's going to cost a lot of money. So 2, 3, 4 times as much money than you would traditionally have known on your internal combustion vehicle. So now if you buy something used, if you want to use a Tesla, you're getting it fractions of the dollar. You can drive it till the wheels fall off and you don't feel as bad as those folks that spent $80,000 or $90,000 when you just spent 15 or 20 and you got almost the same amount of experience and excitement out of that vehicle. So clearly the opportunities, because we're not seeing enough incentives and the prices of these OEMs have been getting jacked up over the course of these last 2 or 3 years, they've been taking advantage of the consumer. Nothing more, nothing less. And as a result, 30, 40% increases. I mean, inflation's been what? 3, 4, 5, maybe 7%? Year over year for the last 2 or 3 years. Okay, so where did this 30, 40% increase come from? Clearly, they're taking advantage of the consumers. Consumers were hot to trot, wanted the latest and the greatest. And now those people that had to be the first to the game to get that new C8 and they're underwater, or that new latest and greatest model potentially underwater, can't sell those cars because now the hotness value has gone away and dissipated and the value is going down. Of course, high interest rates, they have to renew. These people in a lot of cases are having to let their vehicles go. Repo lots are filling up by the hundreds because people can't keep up with the payments. They were trying to keep up with the Joneses and now they have to let their cars go. So if there's one word of advice, until you really need that new car or until we see some drastic improvements on some of these brand new price tags for new OEM vehicles, new Dodges, Rams, Fords, GMs, or even the Hondas and Toyotas, which to me are the benchmarks. When you're seeing changes in that market, that's usually the canary in the coal mine. That's indication that the whole market is shifting. Until you're seeing those big improvements, I personally would look and start shopping for quality, slightly used, pre-owned vehicles that fit your bill. And there's really more to this story. So if you want to understand why you can't afford to buy a car anymore, right there. Hope to see each and every one in the next one. We'll see you all real soon. Bye-bye.